Good evening, Keystrokers. We are live here with the Writer's Journey. Tonight we have Craig Martelle with us to talk Is Writing Right for Me? We're also joined with Lauren, Steve, and Scott Moon. How's everybody doing tonight?
Fantastic. I'll be doing better if... No, you go.
The chat room's already got a party going on in there.
I know they do. And they'd have more of a part if they knew what we were talking about right before the show started, because it was pretty epic. And maybe a little bit weird and twisted, but that's just because I got on a tangent and I didn't sleep well last night. And so now I'm on like 2 hours of sleep. And next thing you know, we're talking about meth and wasp spray again.
And lipstick.
And lipstick, right. I have natural lipstick. It grows right out of my face. No,
because of all the meth and wasp spray.
Because of all the hard narcotics and things, in my life.
Go check on your kids. At least they can get a good night's sleep.
I do actually need to go put them down, so I will be right back.
Good deal.
All right.
All right, Steve, what have you been up to?
I have been up to some things, man. I had book 2 of the Buried Goddess Saga release on Tuesday. And so we've been playing the launch the book game for the past few days, and we're looking forward to book 3 coming out on on January 9th. And actually, I just got proofs back for volume 5 of Superheroes and Vile Villains, so I'll probably be releasing that anthology somewhere close to Christmas, just for fun. Why not, right? See what happens.
Very cool.
That's where I'm at.
Nice.
All right, what about you, Lauren?
Well, the Keystroke Medium, our first anthology is underway. Right now, all the stories are off my plate, and they're now with Ellen Campbell. And she's getting to work on them, and they're going to be excellent when they're done. Looking forward to seeing the finished product. Me, I'm still working on my revisions, and I also submitted my draft to Ellen for her to give a little peek. And we're talking about scheduling an edit soon on that. So I'm excited. It'll be my first time being on the other side of the editing table.
Nice.
There you go.
So, Craig, what have you been up to?
Oh, just a little thing here or there. Got Bali coming in less than 30 days. So that conference is on the home stretch, just getting the last details set up for that. And the last money's committed and spent. I've got 2 publications coming on the 11th, one on the 17th, and that's a new series, new military sci-fi series. It's the best series that I've been associated with. I'm glad to call it mine. And first one's on the 17th. Second book is on December 31st. Third book's on January 14th. And the fourth book is January 28th. Each book is about 75,000 words. We've stockpiled 3 books already, so that's why we're able to do 2 weeks apart for the first 4 books, and maybe 5 or even 6. So 4 releases this month, 4 in January, maybe 5, 6 in February, and probably 6 in March as well.
Oh,
so doing a thing or 2.
Asking you how you do that later on the show, but yeah, that's incredible.
So we all went to Vegas, right? Everyone here, correct? All right. So I just got a comment that Craig, you are far less colorful tonight than you were in Vegas. There's no basketball uniforms. There's no flowery shirts. It's just a straight up black hoodie
from Iceland.
Is this Alaskan depression sinking in, or what?
We did have 19 hours of dark today. I did take some extra vitamin D. No, it's all of the stuff going on. I just have no time for fun. I wouldn't say that. The books, the stories that are coming out are great stories, but it takes all of my focus. I'm working on a short story for the Four Horsemen universe for Chris Kennedy and his anthology that's coming out. Are you in that, Scott? Steve, you're in that?
I'm not in that. Nathan Heistad, I believe, is.
Okay, yes, Nathan is.
I'm in it. Josh in it. Nathan's in it.
There you go.
Jay Allen is in it. Terry Mixon. It looks like an all-star cast. So I'm just finishing that up now. I will send it to my editor and get it to my beta readers, and then we'll get it into to Chris. So I'll have that done. And that is the last short story that I've committed to. Everything else I've delivered. So then I can get back into my mainstream books. Out of the 16 books I'll be publishing over the next 3 months, 2 of them will be completely written by me. And I have 1 page on one of them so far.
Wow.
So
Nothing like a time crunch. I mean, just put yourself under a little pressure there.
the good thing is I haven't committed to a date, so I'll release it when I get to it. So,
Craig, how close were you? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm sorry.
I was going to jump ship for a second. How close were you to the earthquake?
We live outside Fairbanks.
Okay.
The earthquake was down in Anchorage.
Yeah.
So Alaska is such a big state that if it split in 2, Texas would become the 3rd largest state.
Right. So I live in Texas. I was in Alaska 2 years ago. I was in Anchorage.
Okay.
And so it was north of Anchorage, though, right?
7 miles is all, but it was like 30 kilometers deep. So I think that was one of the big things. The Haiti earthquake, that was a 7.0, but it was right near the surface. Makes a big difference.
Wow.
Still, it did a number on Anchorage, but the roads have almost all been repaired. The rail has been repaired, which is critical for Fairbanks Lifeline. 370 miles.
Wow.
Is how far away we are from the earthquake, the epicenter.
Okay.
It's a hop, skip, and a jump.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, when it's like 5 degrees and you got to take a dog sled to get there, right?
Yeah.
I
did make the journey to North Pole today, 30 miles south to go to North Pole, and drop off all of the Christmas cards from Vegas as well as the additional ones that I did for people. So
that's awesome. Very cool.
Those are on their way. And their special stamp. I unfortunately bought some really nice cards, but they all had red envelopes, and the stamp is red. So the people who have white envelopes will get the full Monty when it comes to the Santa.
I don't know if full Monty is appropriate for Santa Claus.
Well, I was
about that. I'm pretty sure.
I was listening to Five Finger Death Punch while addressing them and filling them out. So.
Gotta get that done. A little working music for the busy elves.
You need to get control, Kayleen. You're out. You've lost control completely.
I have. I don't know. I'm enjoying the shenanigans. I guess I need to get this back on track. So back to what we're supposed to be talking about. Is writing right for me? What, Craig, are some upsides and downsides to self-publishing that authors and would-be authors need to consider before sinking the hundreds, potentially thousands of dollars and their hours into writing?
There's multiple questions there, and
that was a loaded question.
That was a pretty all-involved question, and we only have 50 minutes, so I probably won't get the full answer out. Writing as a business is a risk-based effort, just like anything you would do. You work in food service while you're going to college. So you have a trade-off. Okay, food service, being a server, it's not exactly everybody's first career choice. Some people like doing it. Most people don't. You do it because you make money. You need to have something while you're going to college. You can take out student loans, and they're easy to get while you're in college, and unfortunately too easy to get. And you pack on that debt, and you get your college degree, and then you go take a job that doesn't even pay the bills. So you all of it is risk reward. In writing, it's the same thing. And usually people approach it as a secondary effort. You don't get out of college and say, I'm going to be a full-time writer. You just, if you can manage that, then you are a god and are a very, very rare animal, probably as many of you as are unicorns. So you need to look at, you're going to have another job first, and then you write, and you have to see if your writing will sell. Some people, I say all humans are natural storytellers. However, some people can't translate that to the written word, and it takes practice. I've published over 3 million words now, so I think I have enough practice that I can do okay with a story just on the outset because I know what doesn't work. I have a good idea what does work. There are some template kind of approaches and adding depth to the characters is something that I explore more and more with every new work, is trying to give them that hook and that realism that readers like. You're going to read the story, you connect with this character, you connect with this other character, and then you want to get in their head and see what's going on. So you have to first see, can you write a story that people are willing to buy? And if the answer is yes, then how can you leverage that to have a living wage and then make enough to actually live well? It's those are steps, progressive steps in a career. The best way, the best way to do it is, I think people who have made the jump from full-time careers said as soon as they were making double what they were making in their day job, then they went full-time, because now those 40 hours a week they were losing money by investing those 40 hours a week in the day job. If you have health care, you have to look at what are those costs. If you're young, they're cheaper. If you're older, they may get more expensive and almost prohibitively expensive. So if you're an American, if you're in UK, well, you have that hook that you already have healthcare paid for. So you don't have that expense, but then you have different expenses. You have higher taxes. You have higher different costs. They're different slices of your monetary pie are taken. So you just have to understand all that and look at your finances from a business perspective. You have the artistic side, you have the business side. You have got to embrace both. And that's a lot of people will, as a hobby, they write a book. They love this book. It's a great book. They throw it out there and it sells well. Just fluke, hey, word of mouth, and it sells well. And I've seen in my short time as a self-published author, I've seen a number of those people. And because they don't embrace that business side, then that first book sold well, but then the second book kind of falls off, and now they can't replicate that success. And they've jumped because this first book made $250,000. And they're like, oh my God, look at this money. Okay, great. Now they're going on a lecture circuit and they're doing things, and they publish that second book and it doesn't sell. No idea what happened with the first one, second one, third, fourth, fifth, and now all of a sudden their fifth book makes $1,000, $2,000. You can't live off that if that's the lifetime earnings of a book. So you have to look at all of that. Can you replicate your success? And that's when you write a book as a part-time effort while you're doing a full-time job, then you don't have that pressure of it has to perform. And that's some people, and then that's where the love of writing now becomes a job and a trial. Don't ever let it do that, because if it does, then you have now lost that spark. And in your day job, if you're working towards 20, 30 years to retire, there may be times where it's a drag, but you can get through it and you're still going to get paid. If you're a writer and you hit that drag and you don't get the words, then you don't get through it, because in 2 months you're not getting paid, because you didn't get that book done, because you didn't do the marketing. Your marketing sucks. Now you're spending money and you're digging a deeper hole. So it all comes down to risk reward. You have to understand the business side. You don't have to love it. You just have to understand it. And what I had the pleasure of having dinner in London with Mike Landerly, Joe Penn, and Mark Dawson. And I think what sets the 7-figure authors apart from 6-figure authors, even mid-6-figure authors, is they really embrace the business side of it. They're great artists. They tell great stories in a great way, but they embrace the business side of it, and that's what vaults them into the 7-figure land. And so you don't have to embrace it. You just have to understand it to make a really, really good living. But if you want to go to that next level, that highest level, there's all of it has to come together.
So what's go ahead, Kayleen.
Oh no, you're good. You can go.
I would say, what would be like, so if we're going to break it down into like action steps. So somebody's new, say I've written, say I've completed my first novel. I haven't published it yet. And what's the next thing I should maybe do? And then the other question I'm going to ask both of them, because I don't forget it, is like with business, how do you do it consistently? Because it's easy to kind of push that away and not do it consistently.
on that first book. You've written the most important thing you need to do is you need to write that first book. Because if you say, well, while I'm writing the book, now I need to start thinking about my newsletter, see, you're going to get distracted. Don't do any of that other stuff until you write that first book, because you have to see the whole process. Can you do it? Can you finish a book? And not all the people do that. I think 3 out of every 4 PhD candidates end up ABD, all but dissertation, because dissertation writing is freaking hard. Doing that whole thing, writing a book from start to finish, is hard. You have to do that first. So the most important thing is you get all the way to the end, whether it's the end of the scene, end of the end of the book, even if you're going to continue. I'll just say the end. I always put the end, even though it continues. Write that, and then read back through it. Give it some time. Read back through it, and then get it to people who can read it for you in your genre. If you don't have anybody, hey, family, if as long as they like sci-fi or whatever your genre is, romance, whatever it might be, get somebody else to read it. And that's where you're going to start your feedback and personal improvement process, because they're going to tell you some things that, okay, you use very too often. You use the word all, you use some, okay, great feedback. I can fix that. And you have to be open to it. You can't say, well, I think this first work is a masterpiece. It's not. I don't care. It's not. Just accept that it's not. It might be, but it's not. So don't fall in love with your baby. Still your baby, but if you're going to put it up for sale, now it's a product. So yeah, people don't. It's hard for them to make that transition. Finish writing the book. Get feedback. Get it in the best condition you can get it for what you can afford. Don't mortgage your house to get it edited and get a cover. I did my first cover in PowerPoint. I did my own editing, and I published my book. Okay, it needed edited. It needed a new title. It needed a new cover. But what it did is it gave me visibility, and that book I sold to a traditional publisher because it was out there. Hey, the person can write a book. And it was long enough that we split it. I added 10,000 words, and one book became 2 in the course of a week or 2. So,
wow. What year was that, by the way?
What's that?
What year was that, by the way?
That was January of 2016.
Oh, wow.
When I published that first book. So and I am a proponent. Yes, it was not good. It was not ready for prime time. But it got the visibility. It got me the feedback I needed to, yes, you need to think more about your title. This title sucked. I thought it was great, but I'm not the final arbiter. The readers who are willing to pay for that book, they are the final arbiter of what's good. So people who are looking for, I'm not going to show my book to anybody until it's perfect. Perfect for you isn't perfect for the reader. Understand that perfect is the enemy of good. Okay, don't do that. Don't get fixated on your idea of perfect. Write a great book and then start getting feedback. Because if the readers are over the moon about it, well, then maybe it is perfect. Especially if they're willing to throw you $5 for your 60,000 word, 70,000 word book. That's where it comes down to. So write it, get it read and reviewed, even if it's family, even if it's a chapter or 2, whatever it is. Don't let your wife see the part where you killed her in one of your stories. I did that, and it was really unfortunate for me. And best cover you can. So you don't have to pay anything to publish a book on Amazon. Just do the very best you can with what you have. And as I came into more funds, then and had access to better people, I got an editor. I got a real cover, and those made a difference. But it's a step process. You can do it at no cost. So once again, it's low risk. It's only your time. And your time has value later when you can value it. Before you've written your first book, your writing time has 0 value because you can't document that. You can't go to a bank and say, I'm writing a book, give me $20,000. They're not going to do it because you have no credibility in writing a book that can sell.
Right. A lot of us start out leveraging our time because that's the asset we have.
Mm-hmm.
And then it switches where it becomes, when you can pay people to outsource some things, it becomes a smarter thing to do. But in the beginning, that's what you have.
Yep. Yeah, that is your asset. And Barry Hutchison did a great presentation in London that you can find on YouTube. Do 20 Books London as a search, and you'll find look for Barry, and he called it bootstrapping your book, because he didn't spend any money of his own on his books, and now he is well into six figures a year of what he makes, and he only spends what he makes from his books on his book business. And now he has enough. They go to Disney World each year. So good for him. Good for him and how he approached it, and didn't spend money that he hadn't gotten from Amazon. So it worked well.
There's
the
several.
second,
Oh, go ahead.
The second question you had was about the business. How do you do that? And that takes sampling. You have that first book. How do you sell it? So that's a little practice and a little bit of money. If you have no money, well, then what you have to do, and Barry talked about this, is help other people. Do everything you can to help people. Hey, man, I've got this program online. It's free. I can make you a 3-dimensional cover. Anybody want a 3-dimensional cover? That's how I first met Barry. And I'm like, hey, man, I could use one. And he put them like on the cover of a book or something like that. It really, it was simple but high impact, because I have zero graphic capability. So to me, that was impressive. And then so when he said, hey, Space Team is out, is there anybody that could give it a shout, give it a look? And I said, yeah, man, you helped me, so let me give it a look. There was no quid pro quo on his first bit of help. So that's where you can share, do stuff for other people, and then hopefully they'll do stuff for you. And if they don't get miffed. It's okay. So getting into the business, it's really low cost if you really want to, and go about it with some patience, looking to help other people and do your best. Like Scott, hey, anybody have a police procedural issue? I'll take a look at it for you. Things like that can help other people. Then so when you write yours, hey man, can you give mine a look? Sure, I'll do it.
Yep.
Yeah, I really noticed that about the 20 Books group, is that everyone seems to be very interested in helping each other and contributing. And that's something that drew me to this community too on Keystroke Medium as well. I think that's one of the big themes is, you do what you can to share and to help and contribute to the author community. It comes back around.
People will oftentimes help you in surprising ways. It may not be exactly what you're looking for, but it might be better, or those opportunities come there, and people allow you to take them because they're helping you out with one thing or another. And everybody has their strong suits,
And everybody, even if you haven't written a word yet, something that somebody else doesn't know. And it could be simply you live in a town that's obscure, and hey, I want to write a cozy mystery. Is anybody from Wichita, Kansas? Hey, I know some roads, and as simple as that.
Yeah, and as a former teacher, I love to put my students together to have them read each other's papers. It's one of the best ways that they could actually grow as a writer, to see what the other students are writing themselves and to give them feedback. And I can see that really helping and being valuable to authors today, to be able to be part of that process for another author who maybe doesn't have an editor in the budget, or just wants that extra feedback, to be able to switch manuscripts and maybe give developmental edits, plot feedback, character voice feedback, even prose.
We did one event at an author conference where was a table of 8 people. Write your one-liner hook.
Huh.
Pass it to the right.
Yeah.
Read it. What do you think this book's about? Would you pick it up? Yes, no. Just simple thumbs up, thumbs down. No
Exactly.
idea. Too obscure. Too wordy. I love Richard Fox's one-liner for the Ember War. Earth is doomed, humanity has a chance. Something along those lines. It's like, well, if Earth is doomed, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. What the hell is that? I got to keep reading. And those kinds of things. How about the first sentence? How about the first paragraph? How about the first page? I generally write my books and turn them over to my editor, except the first page and the first chapter. First page I will rewrite probably 5 or 6 times. it has to be perfect, and then the whole book will flow from that first page. So the most important part is you have to hook them. As Mickey Spillane said, the first chapter sells this book, the last chapter sells the next book.
Yep.
Very cool.
So we're talking about getting started. We talked a little bit about the money, and we kind of covered bootstrapping, but also living within your means. Somebody recently, I wish I could remember who told me that one of the best pieces of writing advice they ever had was not to spend money you don't have. And that applies to your marketing, your book covers, but also applies to other things too. Don't go buy a new car and an expensive house the first time you start selling some stuff, because money it's up and down. We see it all the time when everybody's sharing their book reports and stuff, and why we have these panics like, oh my God, the algorithm's broke, Amazon's going crazy. Well, it's because we all kind of want some stability, and it's just not there, because people's reading habits change all the time.
Or new books come in and they bump you out.
Right.
There's TradPub right now is spending a lot of money on their advertising. So just understand. I mean, I saw, I was looking at my my author rank, my sci-fi author rank, and I'm like, my sales were pretty steady. I was doing really well through here. However, look at this huge dip. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, 19 November to 27 November, and then it started picking back up again. Well, what happened during then? Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. TradPub was throwing a lot of money at ads, so they took the market. Even though I stayed steady, they went up, which bumped me down in a ranking. So monetarily, November was freaking good month. I mean, for sales and stuff, I made good money. I mean, good money. So I'll but my ranking. So there's a certain well,
you talked.
Guy. Can't think of the word.
Yeah, you've talked before about how your author rank is not really. It's indicative of kind of your general author
health.
career health, rather than a hard number like this rank means this many dollars in my bank account.
That's right. It's very relative, because also during that time we were running a Dark Landing. We ran at 99 cents. So the beginning of the week, that week, I sold 1,300 copies in 3 days. And overall, over the course of the week, I sold about 2,000 books in a week. And my ranking dropped from 600 to 700 to 1,700. So I lost 1,000 spots and sold, 2,000 books?
Yeah.
Come on. But they were at 99 cents, so only made, $600, $700 only. Okay, some people that's a great number, but you sell 2,000 books, you're thinking, oh, look at that, I can buy a new car. No, and that's so your author ranking. All things being equal, that should have bumped us way up there, but still way up high rank, but not all based on the back of 99-cent books. And you look and say, hey, I'm number one in that category, and you look next to you is a David Weber book at $9.99 ebook, and he's number two, and you're number one at 99 cents, and barely.
It can go the other way too. If you get too wrapped up in your author rank, you can be like cruising along doing pretty good, and then a whole bunch of people run a whole bunch of deals and discount their books just either by random, or maybe it's part of a group or something. And then all of a sudden your rank drops and you're like, I can't believe my rank dropped. What am I doing wrong? Well, it's because, somebody's book bub hit, and so you have to just keep it in perspective.
Don't get fixated on rank. I mean, rank as an author, as a health, I've been generally 1,000 to 2,000. And when I'm down at 2,000, that's because I'm not running any deals. And I think at a ranking of about 1,700, where all my books are full price, I make way better money than when I'm 600 and I'm running deals to get up there. So you can balance that. However, dropping below 2,000, now you're having sales issues. You're not getting the numbers to readers that you want. And I am willing to pay a lot of money to bring a new reader on board who will then pick up my backlist, because my backlist is now 70, 80 books.
So having mentioned that back up, I kind of want to talk about like reader expectations. So as a new writer, it's a very broad thing to try and understand and get a grasp on. So what are some tips or things that you've seen as far as how to study readers so you know what to deliver to them in genre
On your first
theme?
book, you're going to guess. Now, a group like 20 Books to 50K, hey, I've written this kind of book, or Indie Cover Project, or a number of other Facebook groups, you have to ask. You get people, hey, I think I've written a paranormal romance. And you get some paranormal romance, which PNR, I pronounce peener. So you get some peener people to read your book, and they look through it and say, this really isn't paranormal romance. This is paranormal action adventure. So you then look at those categories, look at those covers, do your research, and say, okay, now I'm going to put it in these categories. And you do your best within those categories. How often do books release? And then the most important thing you can do is be honest with the readers. After the end, you can write a short note to the readers saying, hey, this is my first book. I hope you liked it. Please leave a review and let me know where I should focus my effort. The next book will be generally on this. And I don't know how long it'll take me to write. It took me 2 years to write this first book, but I think I could probably do the next one in 6 months or something like that. Have an honest conversation with the readers, because the readers, what you'll find is they love getting close with their favorite author. And you'll have fans who like your books, and then you'll have super fans who love your books and are over the moon if they can have a conversation with you, especially if they can get a character named after themselves or get a plot point put in that they've recommended. But that's, you have those conversations. People might bash Facebook all the time or bash Twitter or something else. But if you're having a conversation with your readers and you can grow that, you plant that seed and you grow that into your books. Hey, the readers provided this. Now your author notes are getting longer and longer because you're thanking all your different readers for, hey, I really like this idea. Thanks. Here's what I did with it. Here's this character named in honor of this reader who did something, whatever it might be. Run some giveaways. Here's a signed paperback. Thank you. And generate that energy and enthusiasm for you as an author. So you're building your brand from your first book. So that some people try to separate their on Facebook, try to separate, hey, I'm Craig Martelle, but over here is Craig Martelle author. You have no success with that. I've seen people try to do that and they fail miserably, like get into political talks or religious talks or stuff like that. I don't do any of that on Facebook on any pages because it's a no-win. I look at it as I'm going to lose half my readership no matter what. And I don't want to lose half my readership. I worked way too hard to get the readership. So keep them on board. I'm not gonna rain on anyone's parade. I just want I want you to enjoy my books, and actually I want you to pay to enjoy my books, because then I enjoy you enjoying my books.
And then get to go out and have a steak and
that's right.
Drink some craft beer or whatever. Craft beer for the win. My kids also enjoy eating and climate control as well, so that's another good reason to earn money.
They like having a roof over their head, one that doesn't leak.
Every now and then I remind them of that. You get to eat. So
what I'm hearing about reader expectations is from earlier in the show. One, tell a really good story. It's about the storytelling, it's about the characters, and it's about communicating that story to the readers. But then two is to figure out what your genre actually is, not the genre that you think you're writing, but the genre that this manuscript actually is. Then get feedback from other authors who are in that genre about what tropes or obligatory scenes or characters, what needs to be in that book, what the readers are looking for, and how to satisfy those expectations. And then third, in 2018, readers are expecting to have a relationship with the author over social media, to be able to communicate with them, to give feedback and get feedback, and maybe even to be a part of the story somehow, whether it's like their name in the book or maybe their plot point coming out. So yeah, those are really good points. We had some questions in the chat. One's from Bard of Today. How do you establish those conversations and get them going when and people on your mailing list don't respond. So maybe this is early stages in a mailing list. How do we build up a communicative mailing list where there's a response with your readers?
I would say that if they're not responding, and this goes to reviews, I have a lot of books, so I have a good data set to work from. I have a set. Terry Henry Walton Chronicles have sold $350,000 worth in that 10-book set. So I have a very good set of data from the readers. Book 1 has 175 reviews, something like that, and book 10 has 150 reviews. In between, generally they're around 100, 110 reviews, but then book 7 only has 70 reviews. Book 7 was a little bit of a departure. The main character has been captured, and the secondary character, his spouse, now takes over. She's the alpha werewolf, and she goes to rescue him. Well, that book was not well received, and I understand it, and people read it because they loved the series, and then book 8 we got out as fast as possible so people could then pick back up and put Terry Henry Walton back in the spotlight. And now book 8 jumped way up in the number of reviews. So even though they were reviewed both at like 4.7 or something like that, 70 versus, because people, they like me as an author, but they didn't want to give me a bad review, so they didn't give any review. So that was and yeah, it took a lot of words to get to that point. So if you have people reading your book and they're not giving reviews, that's their way of saying they like you as a person, but they didn't like your book. So how do you then move forward if you're not getting that feedback? And that's where you help other authors. There's some great efforts by newer authors to read each other's works and provide feedback. If the readers aren't doing it, then you've got to get somebody, and somebody in your genre helps immensely. You don't want to get, because if a romance reader read my books, they would be appalled and shocked and horrified. Same thing if I read a romance book. So I wouldn't be able to give good feedback. So work with people, find even if it's only 2 or 3, there may be a fatal flaw early in the book that is easy to fix. One person contacted me like a year and a half ago, up in arms. Oh my God, every one of my reviews is like 1 or 2 stars. They hate the cliffhanger because I take 6 months to write a book. But this book has sold so many, but now I'm getting all these bad reviews. And so I pulled the book. I looked at it. I'm like, oh my God, this is a horrible cliffhanger right at the end. I said, what happens? She goes, oh, well, no, it's I can resolve it in 2 sentences. Well, why don't you then? And so she changed that. And then the great thing about Amazon and ebooks is she re-uploaded it. So then new readers would get it, and it didn't end on a cliffhanger. 2 sentences is all it took. And something like that, I now, over time, I have gathered a team of beta readers who do that for me and read everything and then give me honest feedback. They're not, they are fans. However, they're honest. Hey, this doesn't work for me, or this does, or I want more of this and less of this. And so I will wicker the books before it hits prime time to make sure that I'm delivering to the readers.
Yeah, your beta readers are legendary. I've heard they can get it back within like that day.
Yeah.
The manuscript will tell you that afternoon what they thought of it.
Oh yeah, it blew Scott's mind. He's like, "Oh hey, man, how is this?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'll have feedback for you tonight."
And it did, with comments and useful, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So I mean, because a lot of authors, we're very to ourselves kind of people. So a lot of what I'm hearing is you kind of have to get out of that. I'm an introvert. People read my work, but I don't want to talk to anybody. Got it in some way, shape, or form. Get yourself out there. Be open to conversation, because otherwise, you're just going to fall to the wayside.
The great thing about being a writer is you can be an introvert and still be out there. My wife is a raging introvert, and she's a university professor, because when she gets up in front of the class, it's a different world, and how she approaches things. Like here, okay, I'm looking at you, but I'm in my house. My dog is right outside the door. I've got my inhaler here just in case you guys drive me insane. So I can still do what I do. I say being an author, is a lonely profession, but you don't have to be alone. So lonely, yes, that I get to sit here by myself in my super cool office with my Star Trek blueprints on the wall, but not alone in that I have a good support group. If I ask Scott, can you share this book? Metal Legion's coming December 17th. That'd be really cool if you give it a shout out.
Done.
But that kind of thing, we can do that here. But there's no small talk. I don't have to work Scott into it because we're the same tribe and we know each other. And that's a great thing about the conference, the 20 Books Vegas conference. We had over 700 people, and probably 80% of them, 90% were introverts. Yet you saw a lot of conversations going on at any point in time. You saw very, very few people sitting by themselves or being a wallflower, because you didn't have to make small talk. And that's the nemesis of introverts, is trying to do the social thing where you don't get to think about the stimulus that's provided. Introverts need to think about stuff before they respond. You can't instantly be the life of the party because your mind doesn't work that way. You don't have to do that with other authors. All you have to do is find your genre, find your people, and you talk about, hey, sci-fi books. Oh man, look at that. There's Josh Dalzell. God, I love that guy's stuff. Hey, let me go shake his hand. That's you get to do all that and talk about, hey, when's your next book coming out? Just expect that as a question. That's one, even if it's abrasive, because you're like, oh, I got so many books. You still, hey, I'm not sure. Just prepare yourself for the hard questions. When's the next book coming out? Can you do them faster? When you're talking to fans, they all want your books faster. So just be ready for that. Well, I've got these books. I'm looking at this new series. And if you've got co-authors, getting them in there and shaping things to, it starts off as you take your reader from your stuff to co-author stuff, you want to ease them into it. So the first book might have more massaging to it, but then by the fourth or fifth book, the readers are now accustomed to the co-author's voice, and they run free. Here you go. Now, hopefully you pick up my readers, I pick up your readers, and everybody wins.
Now, earlier you mentioned working with authors to read each other's manuscripts and give each other reviews. J.R. Hanley mentioned something about once you build a relationship with your readers, Amazon stops letting them review your stuff. What are Amazon's guidelines with soliciting reviews?
It's fluid. Now, the relationships, part of the thing is I'm a big fan of clean links. Don't ever use a dirty link, because Amazon will say, hey, you're sending this link to your fans and or to your friends, and they're leaving reviews for you. And if they can't leave reviews, oh, well, I mean, move on.
What are clean and dirty links?
On Amazon, anything after the ASIN is dirty and traceable. So contains tracking data. So what you want is amazon.com/DP/ASIN, and that's the unique code. Every book, you go to Amazon's ebook page, and it'll have an ASIN. And then that's as clean a link that contains no tracking data of any sort. So that's it. If you're sharing a link on your Facebook group that contains that tracking data, now Amazon gets that. This is all my theory. So they see that, you're doing this to solicit feedback. What are you giving them? Because the big thing, you cannot pay for reviews. And that pay for reviews, whether it's, hey, I'm going to get a free book. Hey, show me a copy of your review, and I'll draw from these 10 names, and one of you will get a free book. No, you can't do that. You can't incentivize reviews. We've seen that they don't like arcs if the wording is incorrect. I got a free copy of the book for a review. Now that's a quid pro quo. Yeah, that's now not an authorized review. And it doesn't take much before a reviewer gets blacklisted and can't leave reviews. So
if you have a really huge ARC list, and if you have like 800 people on your ARC list and they all drop a review on the first day and they use that same language, it's probably going to set off. It could.
Yeah, I don't do ARCs at all. I just can't I can't see giving out 800 copies. I'll sell 800 copies for 99 cents, or I'm in KU. So one thing I've done is I bought KU subscriptions for people who were like almost all of them were vets of some sort, military vets, and some disabled, and said, "Hey, I'd love to read your books, but I'm on fixed income. I'm a disabled vet." Okay, hey, let me see a picture of you in uniform. I just want some kind of confirmation verification, and then I might get them a 6-month KU subscription. Hey, read all my stuff. Have a nice day.
So, what are some other pitfalls that you see new authors fall into that they just can't seem to get out of, in the way of becoming a full-time author is no longer a dream or a reality?
The pitfall is the constancy of work. You have to write every day. It took me 13 books and 11 months before I got in the black. So 13 books, and those 13, each one was 60, 70,000 words. So I had already written 700, 800,000 and published that many books before I got into the black. So you see, okay, geez, I spent $2,000 on this book and I've made 400. Okay, hey, 2 months later, I've made $420 now, and that can be soul crushing if you don't have the money to keep throwing at these books. I lose $1,000 with every book. What kind of business is this? Well, it's like 90% of the small businesses in America, they lose money their first year because it's hard. You have to build that clientele. You have to expand your business. You have to improve what you do well, and then you have to fix what doesn't work. And that's a small business mentality where people think this is a great book. It's not selling. Once again, this is your baby. However, as soon as you put up for sale, now it's a product. You have to take yourself out of the creative mindset and look at it as, now, how does this product sell? My first series, I wrote it. It's space adventure. Wow, it's awesome. Look at this, cats. Oh man, everything you could possibly want from a series. I even went and bought Tom Edwards covers. Great covers. Look at this. And it didn't sell as well as it should have. It sold okay. I mean, I got my money back. I more than broke even. But I'm like, this should sell better. I've got 6 books in this series, and I'm only doing okay. Well, I looking at my feedback, they said, well, this is young adult. Oh, okay, let me make it young adult. So I rebranded it, republished it as young adult, and guess what? Now it made a lot of money. Hey, and I never looked at it as a young adult adventure because the main character was 18 beginning, and by book 6, he was 23. And there was nobody younger. So it wasn't like teens, like Twilight or whatever those movies are. So I rebranded it as YA, and it sold very, very well as YA to adults.
What made it successful, do you think, as a YA book as opposed to new adult? Was it like tropes that you were hitting, or the kind of humor that it had? Or did you ever figure
on that one, I don't know. I think it was probably the tropes because there was no swearing in it and there was no sex. So I think that's why people are like, okay, it's space adventure, but it's young adult. So and you had said the word before, reader expectation. By managing the reader expectation that this is young adult, then adults, the target audience were adults that weren't looking for cursing or sex, that were looking for a Thundercats kind of adventure, because Thundercats was a really cool TV show, and explore this world through that view. So it changed my targeting on my marketing, and it worked well. But listening to the reviews.
Chris Fox talks a lot about minding your reviews for reader expectations, or just and some ideas for rebranding and stuff like that. That's really important. I think understanding genre is not something we do well, and everybody wants to resist it, but that is really important because they're there for a reason. If I want to buy a Chevy truck, I don't go buy a Ford truck. I'm looking for a Chevy.
Yeah. And that's a reader's expectation. It all blends together, and it goes to your personal branding. Once you get branded as that guy, now you get readers who are looking for that kind of thing. And so now they come to you as opposed to you trying to dig in and find them.
So you definitely need to be open to what the market, what the readers are telling you, and step away from, this is my creative baby, I can always make more.
Yeah.
'Cause
Well,
once you
understand what market you're writing to. And you're not going to when you write your first book. My first book, I'm like, write what you know. Okay, surviving in Alaska after the apocalypse. Okay, that's easy to imagine because where I live, it doesn't take much, and we're cut off. And the earthquake reinforced that. Okay, they said you need to have 7 days of food and water. I'm like, you kidding me? Where I live, it's 30 days is the requested amount: food, water, and fuel. 30 days. So it wasn't hard to imagine, okay, if the world ended, how would I survive? How would we survive long term? What would we do? So that was my first book. What is that? Okay, it's post-apocalyptic. Well, it's more survivalist, and I learned that later after I published it. So, and I called it action adventure. And they're like, when the publisher bought it, the traditional publisher, they're like, no, it's not. Action needs to have an action every 11 pages. I learned that. So every 1,000, 2,000 words, you need to have some kind of action in an action adventure. Well, I didn't have that much action. It was survivalist. Some of it was kind of boring, but it was survivalist, detailed. So we took that nomenclature off there.
It's very interesting. I read a survival. I think it's called Gray. Is the name of the book. It's doing pretty well, but there's lots of lists, and it's something I hadn't realized, but I finally figured out that's part of that particular genre. There's lots of lists, the things you have to survive. This is what I had. I had this, yep. this, and this, and then I went and found this, and the books are full of that, and that drives me crazy. But I realized there is a certain kind of suspense in that.
I did that originally. I actually used a graphic, like a handwritten of a list, as I did lists of things, because you need this amount of supplies, you need this amount of dirt, you need these seeds, and then I took that out because it was boring as shit to read. Sorry, I swore.
Good. It's not the first time we've had a few.
And I condensed that down. I had these nice graphics, and I condensed them down to a single sentence of the appropriate amount of food, fuel, and seeds, or something like that. I dummied it down, and then I built it back up of more specifics, but without the lists. And that's why I did find out later that's correct. In survivalist books, you really do want those lists, because the people are almost like training themselves for their own situation should they happen. A lot of preppers out there,
like sort of nonfiction prepper,
yep,
type of thing. But it goes back to reader expectations. If you said, I really like this stuff, and I'm going to write myself a prepper book, a post-apocalyptic book, and you didn't understand that was something they liked, then you'd be like, why doesn't nobody read my books?
Yeah. Or if you call it an action adventure, and not just those people you do get to read it, hate it. That's targeting the wrong people. So that's understanding your genre. No matter what you wrote, you have to understand what it is when you get to the end.
And then it might require a revision to revise the manuscript to make it fit what it's become a little better.
You always have to be prepared to potentially change things, because it's not necessarily always going to stay the same. Earlier, the Monday night KSM, had predictions for the 2019 what's to come in the world of indie publishing. We're talking a lot about reader expectations. Do you have any insight or opinions on where you think the readership and all that encompasses is going for 2019?
My impression for 2019, based on what I understand of what Amazon is doing in regards to their marketing and advertising revenue, is that we're going to find the readers in the same way, but it's going to be twice as expensive. So for new authors breaking into the market, you're going to have to be more open to different ways of getting where you want to go. establishing that base readership, and that's going to be the bootstrapping and your base, and it's probably going to take longer unless you have money. And I'm assuming nobody has any money when they first start off writing, because you're doing it as a side gig to your main job. Because I've already seen that with the bids. I'm running an ad that is doing very, very well, but my bids go up to $1.06, and that's I know that's obscene in a lot of circles. My lowest bid on that keyword ad is 47 cents. So
Wow.
that the lowest one, and that's only doing okay. The 60 to 75 cent bids are doing very well, and the book is holding its rank. It's getting good sales. It's making more than I'm spending. But understand, that's the direction we're going on the bids to get the thing. I saw that my name is getting 58 cents, which I was pretty stoked about. And Michael Anderle is 82 cents. One time I was 47 cents and he was 42 cents, which I continue to hold that over his head. But it's not that way anymore. I was 58 cents. He was 82 cents for my name on an ad. And importantly, I searched my name on Amazon just on occasion to see who's stealing my spot. M.R. Forbes. I see you out there, man. M.R. Forbes. He had the first two entries on an Amazon search on my name. So good on you, MR. I need to outbid you. I want to know what you bid, because I need to bid higher, because when people search my name, they need to find my stuff. So good on you. But that's, keep that in mind too. They can search Craig Martelle, very unique. There's only one of me on Amazon, and I'm the third result if you search me in ebooks.
If you search Scott Moon on Amazon, not in the Kindle store, you get the first thing that pops up is Scott Moon toilet paper or Scott toilet paper, and then you get Moon, and then it goes to my name there. So, unfortunate but true. Fun
Dude.
fact.
So
that was
how
like
that works is through like the bidding for when people look you, because you look me up and they're like, "Did you mean Karen Williams?" I'm like, "No, I met myself."
And so if people are doing Amazon ads and stuff, then you can go pick the authors you think your book would go to, and so you can see who's using your name as who they're putting in their bid. I guess I'm not really explaining that very well. I'll need to get Meeks on here and have him talk about that.
Yeah, using your name. How do you get there on low bids? I see Blake talking about low budget marketing tactics, and that is the circle of friends. Places like 20 Books Vegas, where you meet and work with. I mean, I met Scott Moon and Richard Fox at SAS in Austin, and that's where we formed that relationship where we now, okay, I will share your books. If you want me to share anything, I'll share a Scott Moon book, because I've read his stuff. I like his stuff, and my readers like his stuff. Same with Richard Fox. He's a great author. But I wouldn't do that just out of the blue. The benefit of meeting authors and going to the conferences is you can establish those relationships. Yes, there's a cost to them, but we keep Vegas as cheap as humanly possible. It's a cheap place to fly to. Sam's Town is cheap to stay at. The conference fee is almost nothing, and my goal was less than $1,000 investment. I can spend $1,000 on BookBub in a day on BookBub ads and have nothing to show for it. I've spent $250 in a day before on BookBub ads and gotten nothing out of it. So you spend $1,000 going to a 20 Books Vegas conference, you're going to get something from it. So what is the cheapest marketing tactic? A circle of friends. Find those people who can help you get your book in front of readers. Anthologies in your genre. Scott has done this. Put a story into the expanding universe, and we've had some great authors. And I say I don't take a cut from any of my anthologies of short stories, because I want all of your readers, and I want all of you to have access to my readers, because most of them will pick up the book and read it and skim it, and this is where it's so important. I'm fanatical on those short stories. I did that to you, Scott. Was you've got to set that hook in that first paragraph, because when my readers read the anthologies, they read the first paragraph. If they're not hooked, they'll move to the next story.
Yep.
So now you've lost your opportunity to get a new reader. And I don't want you to do that. I want you to have that where they get to the end and say, I want to look up your page and see what other books you have out. And that's what we do with the anthologies. So once again, you're leveraging your time in writing a good story, and then getting it into an anthology where then you get the exposure, the infamous artist exposure, where people die of exposure. But in this case, you need that. If you're looking at low budget marketing, your what you're paying with is your time. Mr. Dickus.
Craig, can you see the live chat, or do you want us to ask some of those questions?
No, I can see that. Just I got to look over here so you see the side of my head while I'm because I have two cool screens. I can put it over your face, which is probably okay.
That's probably a wise tactic, generally speaking.
I saw you did a giveaway today on Newsletter Ninja, How to Become an Author Mailing List Expert by Tammy Labriquet. I got one.
Oh, did you? Congratulations, Lauren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all I need to know about becoming a newsletter ninja, and I don't know.
And that's something we do on 20 books of 50K as well. I do that. I do a giveaway once or twice a week to keep the folks energized and the opportunity to see different ways and different things. And if I give it away, you know that I've looked at it and I believe in it and it's good stuff. And I'm willing to pay for it for you to get it. Because some people will buy it then because, hey, Craig Martelle endorsed it. So I don't take that lightly. I'm not going to push something that I don't know from somebody I don't know, because I don't want to lose the value of your trust. It's taken a while to build that up, but yeah, I know Tammy Labrec's book is top notch. It is the book in regards to marketing, in regards to newsletters. So get it, read it. I've got it. I haven't read it. I've read some stuff. I do, but I want to get her to 20 Books Vegas so she can talk to people about newsletters, because newsletters are so important. I know there are people who are successful without them. I think it's so much easier with one. It's a way to connect. It's a way to instantly market. I will send my newsletter, and that is going to be a $500 day on a new release, at least. So that is a nice thing, because it offsets some costs right out of the gate. And I don't do pre-orders either, just because I don't do pre-orders, because I release a book when it's ready.
So build that a circle of friends, and then use that to start up your newsletter. Use this newsletter to connect with your audience and to build a real relationship with them. And then when you promote other people's books, make sure they are a good book that you've read, that you enjoy, and you know your readers will like too, so you're not breaking that trust you've already built up.
And that's something I will share people's books who that I know it's a good book, and when it's on sale, because my readers, I do a 99-cent sale. I'll release books generally Monday, and on Saturday after a new release, I'll do a 99-cent sale for that book. So the people who want to read it will dive into KU, read it, and then maybe buy it if they like it, or just buy it for $3.99, and then after the 99-cent sale goes to $4.99. But so that sale, people are bargain hunters. Hey, I'll take it for 99 cents if you're I'm willing to wait. So time versus money, and you get those readers, and they're loyal. It's like, hey, they know they're going to get a new Craig Martelle book for 99 cents if only they wait just a little bit.
And then for the Amazon algorithm, that's keeping your sales going too.
Because yes, you get 5 days where you get a nice big bump at the beginning. You get all the borrows. You start getting the page reads, so now you're seeing income. And then you have that Saturday where you have that nice, really big bump on sales. And then it goes to full price, but now you've had all of this. So you're in also bots, you're getting that visibility, and you might hit the newsletter again for those people who didn't open it. According to MailChimp, a lot of them do open it, but they just don't get the feedback. And then you start running ads. I don't run ads until after it goes to full price. And also, one thing I've done over the years is I have built my Amazon followers I've done a lot of giveaways, and some the Kindle Oasis, the biggest, bestest, waterproofest Kindle you can get. It's $300, and I set it for the max, 56,000 followers who put in for that one giveaway. So I get a significant bump when Amazon sends out the new release by Craig Martelle email. Now, I can do that because I have, well, you heard me say 4 releases December, 4 releases January, and 6 releases. So if I'm getting a fraction of 1% of those followers buying my stuff, well, that's 4 times a month. If you don't want to spend $300 to get followers, and then you only release a book once every 6 months. In that case, you might want to get followers by giving away books that are very, very similar to yours in your genre. So if you write urban fantasy very similar to J.K. Rowling, give away J.K. Rowling books, because then those people will be, you can set it, hey, follow me, and you can get like 100 followers, but there are 100 followers who follow exactly and read exactly what you write. So when Amazon sends that new release and you've got that cool cover that looks J.K. Rowling-esque, you get them to read that first sentence and then that first page, and then they keep reading. All of a sudden, now you've got a new reader. So you have to taper how you do that. And a couple of the giveaways that I ran, I went into Facebook and I did very, very specific Facebook targeting for readers in my genre for a giveaway. So I got people to sign up. I spent a lot on the Facebook ads, and I got readers or followers that I think are readers of my stuff.
These are really good tips. I hope y'all are writing these down.
You can always go to the playback. We're officially over the hour.
Oh, man.
It's like it started like 10 minutes ago.
Feels like I just got here.
You've been amazing, Craig. Thank you so much for coming on, talking with us. Definitely, we'll probably want to have you on again.
Well, thank you. The original topic of going full time and is writing for everybody. I remember a conversation I had when I was a lieutenant with a gunnery sergeant, and regarding a lance corporal's evaluations. And it's like if he gets this eval, it's gonna hurt his career. And he said, "You know what, sir? Not everybody gets a career." And the same thing with writing. You have to want it. You have to work like you want it. I have seen some people post on 20 Books to 50K about, well, how much do you need to write in order to be able to travel too? So what's the least amount of work I can do in order to live the life like Castle? And that answer is you won't ever get there with that kind of view. You have to look at it as, I want to write a great story, and then I need to find readers, and oh, by the way, I might make enough that I can actually do stuff with my money from those royalties. So you have to look at it as an incremental approach. There's a lot of steps on that ladder to success, and how you approach it. It has to start with ground zero. It has to start with a first book that I think people are so much better career-wise if their first book doesn't sell well. It's because they stay hungry. Oh, well, you get a few people that just love it, and that is great. That's all you need. That's enough energy to go to book 2 and then go to book 3, and they still love it. Now you've got a few more fans. They're telling their friends. And, yeah, you've only sold $400 worth out of 3 books, and you're thinking, I suck. But you've got some fans, and you've got some people saying, hey, when's book 4 coming out? And that it doesn't take much. And getting the feedback to write better words and reading, and because you're a writer, but you read, and that's your best ideas for how to shape sentences. I love Anne McCaffrey. Her dialogue really flows so well in the way she does the 3-dimensionality of the characters. So how do you get there from here? You practice, and it takes a while. You have to be patient. I made it in less than 3 years, but I'm financially secure, emotionally secure. I have everything I need because I'm retired. I have a paycheck without having to work. So I came into this a little bit differently than your average person, but being engaged with 20 books, I get to see everybody, and I hate leading people astray. Like, hey, be like me. I write full time. I can't say that because my journey was different. I never wrote during my whole adult life until I had enough money in the bank and could do it full time. So it's important to know what works for you. You have to manage your own life risk. We don't need a cheerleader saying, "Yeah, you need to write full time. You wrote a great book. Oh my God!" And they dive out. I saw one person when he left his job and started writing full time, instant writer's block. He went 4 months without writing a word. Guess who has a day job again? And don't do that. You have to be able to replicate your success in order to do it full time. So there's a lot of words of caution in there, but I'll tell you, this is the absolute best job I've ever had. I work 12 to 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. And when I'm on vacation, I only work 6 hours a day. So
Always stay hungry.
Yep. Stay hungry, and stay hungry for the right things.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
I will never buy a yacht because Jaws. I watched that when I was too young. So
Yeah. Sharks. I mean, come on.
there'll never be a yacht. Yeah, never. If I can't see the beach, it's out.
Yeah.
All right. This has been a really awesome conversation. Lots of thoughts, lots of things to consider. Everybody who's watching or watching after and you're not here live. Sorry, JR, just distracted me.
Thanks, JR, for distracting me.
Miss me up,
Way
JR.
to go.
I think what Josh always says is if you're not here live, you're wrong. To put any pressure, but we do have a lot of great people in the live chat, and we'll look forward to them again next time.
Yeah, so I am Kayleen Williams here with Lauren Moore, Scott Moon, and we've just been visited by Craig Martelle and all his great knowledge. We hope to see you again next Thursday, and also this coming Monday. On
Two shows Monday.
There is 2 shows. We do have an afternoon show on Monday, super special. We will be get more info on that.
Noon EST with Richard Fox.
Oh yes.
Cool.
I'm gonna stop the broadcast because I failed that outro horribly.
I think it's the best outro ever.
This has been the writing journey. Thank you guys for listening. Have a good night.
All right. You guys have a great day. Thank you.